Can we just take a moment to celebrate the people who have the courage to admit when they're actually wrong, which might be in front of an entire film crew? I was privileged enough to work with a DOP who worked on one of the original Star Wars films back in like the 1980s. Coming up to retirement, this really happy guy, incredible at his job with cinematography, and every other line that he said was a joke. The whole crew's having fun, everything. He has the command of the crew, everyone's respect. Wonderful person, the ideal kind of person you want to work with. We had quite a tricky visual effects shot to do where we had to go and position match the camera to where it was on the studio set, but from 2 weeks ago. So from 2 weeks ago, we had to put the camera back in the same position because we were going to go and add some smoke elements. I went in and said, right, the camera must be here. And then the DOP, which I will call Luke because he was on Star Wars. So Luke came and said, no. The camera needs to go and be over here. And I had my laptop plugged into the camera, running my plate matcher software, which is like a live key mix software with a few other custom things. And I could see that this new position that Luke suggested was not working, okay? Now, bear in mind at this point, Luke has given the command to the whole crew that the camera is going to be here. And that's what looks right to him. He's got 40 years of experience. I've only got 6 years of experience. I'm looking at this shot and I can see clearly the position doesn't match. And it's that far off that you can't just kind of like fudge it with like warping and visual effects and such. It's becoming an unusable shot. So I go over to Luke and we just have like a bit of a private one-to-one moment about this because I don't want to question him in front of the rest of the crew. So we have a moment. I'm showing him my laptop. I'm doing a fade between our live plate and then the plate that we have to match, and he can see that it's not matching. In fact, there's a point on the table where 2 points match up exactly. And if you've ever done any boat navigation, if you can line up 2 known points, you know that you must be on that line. So I showed him this. Luke looks at it and he realizes, yeah, Sam, you're right. Goes to the whole crew and he says, right everyone, I was wrong. We're not going to put the camera here. We're going to go and put the camera over there, which means we need to change this rig. We need to go and change the rig that holds the camera because it's on an uneven bit of floor now. That's what we're doing. In front of the whole crew, he admitted he was wrong. And when he admitted that he was wrong, humbly in front of the whole crew, my respect for him went through the roof. This is the kind of person that I want to work with. When something's wrong, you take ownership of it as he did and you go towards the right path. No one's perfect, we're all gonna make mistakes. And think about it, if you don't make that correction, if you let your pride get in the way, it might seem okay in the day, like, you know, I've got 40 years of experience, he's only got 6 years of experience, I've worked on Star Wars, we're gonna do it my way, and I'm not gonna let anyone question me in front of the crew. Then we think we're doing the right thing, the crew thinks it's doing the right thing, I know we're not, and then 2 months later in post-production, we realize we're actually sending the whole crew off a cliff because all we're doing is filming a load of unusable footage, making the whole day a waste. But that didn't happen because Luke was a very wonderful, rational, humble, golden-hearted guy, to be honest, and he could take ownership and responsibility for his own mistake. He could see when things were wrong, and he'd correct the path. When you've got a lot of money and people, seasoned people, depending on you to do the right thing, and then you admit you're wrong, you have this huge machine with this huge momentum, you stop it, change direction, and then go in the new path. Now, there's a fine piece of leadership mechanics that go on at this point. If you are surrounded by people that can appreciate we all make mistakes, logical, intelligent, sharp people who realize we all make mistakes, we need to make corrections, and that's how we win in the end, then that's great, you can make that apology. But if you are surrounded by people who, I'm going to say it, they're a bit of a blunt instrument, who don't appreciate the importance of changing course many times to navigate a very tricky problem, and it was a very technical thing, then what they could have said is like, oh, so this new guy who's just come in for just a few days, he knows better than Luke. Oh, I've lost all my respect for Luke now, I'm not going to respect him anymore. If you are around those kind of people, you've got to be very careful about apologizing because they're going more off emotion than logic. And then another time I made a mistake and I thought I'm going to follow Luke's example. I'm going to make an apology in front of everyone and suggest a solution. But I was not as seasoned and wise as Luke is. I misread the people around me, and quite a few of the crew saw this as an opportunity to try and bury me, to put all of their mistakes on me, to blame me, to try and sacrifice me to save themselves, which by the way is the exact plot of the Count of Monte Cristo, but that will be the topic of tomorrow's video.